Hey, what's up guys? It's Cypher, and the title of the video is true. I do not want traps to return to Fortnite. I'm going to explain to you, traps have been gone since February 20th of last year. Some players who have been playing Fortnite don't even know that they existed, but there is a lot that we can learn from traps and why they got removed. The reality is that traps, I loved using them, especially because when a player just, wants to rush into your box without thinking, you can throw that thing down and they'll run into it and you'll get a really easy, quick elimination. But it kind of started becoming a problem with some of the changes that Epic made. People would just kind of panic and just throw like a bunch of traps down, and the traps did a lot of damage before they got vaulted. They were doing 150. And another problem is, like, let's say you got somebody weak and then they just immediately, threw down a trap before they died. Then you, even though you got the kill, you end up walking into their trap and dying or being like severely hurt. And you feel kind of cheated. So even though it was my all-time favorite weapon, and a lot of people refer to me as the Trap King, because I had some really flashy trap plays, and the Trap Tower, of course, that's a classic, and all kinds of different ways, and kind of innovated a lot of the different trap techniques that existed. That's not how most people use them. A lot of times it was just a spam fest with the traps, especially once they implemented auto trap placement, which made it very cheesy. And then for some reason, so Epic dropped the damage of traps to 75. That was around season 7 and 8, and the traps were not strong enough. And then they upped it to 150, and then the traps initially did 125. Also in the past, like when you place the trap, you had to wait for the building piece to completely finish building before the trap could go off. So then they changed that to where it automatically goes off after like a couple seconds. Overall, it was just it was way too powerful. It caused a lot of frustration. And listen, I know that Epic wants to bring traps back, and I'll tell you why. Ever since the removal of traps, we've had different versions of traps come into the game. Initially they removed them. Then we had like the poison trap at one point, which didn't really work too well. And then just recently, Epic tried their hand again at bringing back traps with the fire trap. I made a video about the fire trap. The fire trap was awful. Fire trap did 50 damage. It barely worked. Didn't go off if there was a cone or a ramp in the box. It was a failed attempt, and they quickly removed it the next season. So Epic's clearly thinking about bringing back traps. So I decided to make this video as the Trap King, as some people call me, and someone who absolutely loves using traps in Fortnite, but did not like the state of traps when they transformed and like what they ended up becoming. I have a solution. I have a new trap concept that I think will work really well and Epic will like. Ooh. If Epic were to bring back traps the way they were, people would still complain and they'd end up removing them again for a very long time. I don't want that to happen, okay? What I want instead, hopefully, is a better version of the trap. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you guys the new trap concept. It's not like crazy. It's not like a crazy concept idea or anything like that, but it's going to get the job done, and it's going to make the trap more permanent for the game and actually have like a pretty skillful use. Okay, so first things first, right? If you brought back traps, I think they should be gold rarity, right? They shouldn't be very common. Gold or purple rarity instead of green. And you should be able to buy them for a lot of gold from NPCs. And they should be hard to come by. You shouldn't have, like, how you can have like 20 bouncers in a match? You shouldn't be able to have 20 traps, because when you have a lot of traps, that's when things start becoming a little bit cheesy. Speaking of cheesy, auto trap placement, right? They added the ability for you to automatically place traps without having to build the wall. It would automatically build a wall behind the trap. They did this because they wanted to make it easier for controller players to place down traps. The problem is when they added auto trap placement, that's when things started getting really spammy. If you got in someone's face and they panicked and they felt like they were going to die, they would just start spamming traps all over the place, because they would usually have like 5 or 6 of them because it was easy to find them, and sometimes they'll kill you, and you feel cheated and you feel bad, and it's very much like an unfair encounter, and it feels cheesy, and no one likes that. So if traps were to return, you would have to place the wall, then place the trap. It just has to be like that. The second idea, and I think this one's really important, if you place down a trap and then you end up dying, your trap should be disabled. And there's a few reasons why that is important. I'll tell you why. You would have a lot of people, especially like new players, they would grab a trap, they would just put it somewhere in a house randomly. So then every time you walk into a house, you have to check the roof, check the roof, check the roof. GG, man. This man was stacked. What can I say? All right, back to what I was saying. When the traps come back, if they come back, it should be the case that if you die, the traps get turned off. And it's also the best way for, like, if somebody's really weak and they're about to die, and then they just panic and place down a couple traps, and then you kill them. That you're not gonna just die immediately after that, because sometimes you have to push into somebody's box to finish them off. That'd be a very balanced change. It would still allow people to be aggressive and jump into people's boxes, but still have that risk. Speaking of risk, 150 damage is just way too much. It's too much damage. I think 125 was good at the time, but if you brought it back today with how good players are at building and all that stuff, you would probably have to go for something like 100 damage tops. You couldn't do more than that, because players honestly are just a lot better these days than they were before. Back in the day, people were super impressed with my ability to place traps. In reality, I was just kind of like ahead of the time. A lot of people these days, right now, could place traps just as good as I did back then. Don't hurt me, Storm. Also, traps are one of the most OG items in the game that hasn't really gotten a visual overhaul. Like, they haven't really been changed visually. So I think it'd be cool if they had like a gold look to them with their, new epic / legendary rarity. And also, if you remember, if you're an OG, the zapper traps used to have a function where you can throw the zapper traps on the walls. So it'd be interesting if you could potentially throw these traps on walls instead of placing them. I don't know how they would really work that in. You wouldn't press T to pull them out. Maybe their item, a stackable item, and then you would hold them and you would throw them at walls, and you could apply them to traps to walls. And maybe you can place them on enemy walls as well. I don't know. It would be it's an interesting thought, to be honest with you, as to how they could kind of change them up if they brought them back. I've got 14 bouncers. That's crazy. Imagine if I had 14 traps right now. These guys would all be doomed. Oops, that's my wall, man. I'm sorry. Oh, wow. He was weak. GG's, man. I really do hope they eventually come back. I do miss trapping people. It was one of my favorite things to do in Fortnite. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys next time.